Ranade, when I look at those economic headwinds, the fact is inflation remains a concern at the moment in this country. Interest rates are continuing to rise to tame inflation. Private investment is still relatively dormant, and non-tax revenues are below expectations. So there are concerns. How much do you think those concerns will magnify, particularly as the government now looks at the budget making of 2023 and the year ahead? Will we have to now look very closely at some of those growth projections that were made 6 months ago?
Yes, Rajdeep, India cannot remain completely immune from the fact that most of the world is going to be in a recession. Even the USA, as was mentioned earlier, it's looking 50-50, but as months go by, the chances, I think, will increase. So one impact of that is that high oil prices directly translate into higher fertilizer subsidy. Last year, we budgeted 1 lakh crores for this year, that is this fiscal year, in January, but now it's double. Now the estimated fiscal burden is 2 lakh crores. We already have had to revise upwards the budgetary allocation for the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. We have allocated some 45,000 crores extra for the free food, the PM, the free food scheme till the end of December. So the fiscal arithmetic will start mattering. Of course, just a few weeks ago, the finance secretary said that he's confident of reaching the fiscal deficit target this year because of advanced tax collection numbers and the fact that the GST numbers have been above 1.5 lakh crores for 6 months, 7 months in a row. But that was before this, the oil price, the OPEC has decided to cut output, so oil prices have gone up again above 100, and the impact on this free food grain. So the fiscal arithmetic is going to be difficult. Having said that, I must say the growth inflation dynamics of India, that is the combination of tapering growth, lower growth, and slightly higher inflation, this combination is looking much better than most of the other peers. Our inflation at 7 or 8% is only slightly above what we had anticipated earlier, and our growth rate has been revised downwards, but from 8 to maybe 7 or maybe 6.5%, which is not so bad considering that the rest of the world is in recession. But it's not something to be complacent about. And as earlier it was said, India's situation in terms of its debt to GDP ratio or the external debt to GDP ratio, all those are somewhat more comfortable, of course, compared to 2013.
Therefore, Dr. Beg, from your vantage position in Singapore, do you believe India and Indonesia are the two outliers, the two countries that stand out in a way, particularly among the G20? Would you also say India relatively better placed in a way at the moment? Or would you say that it would be premature to celebrate in any way at a time when there are these global headwinds?
There is absolutely no room for celebration at this point. We're talking about a country where over the last 5 years, real per capita income has been more or less stagnant. It was, in nominal terms, about $2,000 5 years ago. Today is about $2,200. So the country has a lot of work to do. It has lost about half a decade. Some of it is due to global factors. Some of it is due to, forced formalization, which caused a lot of friction in the economy. And therefore, per capita income has been largely stagnant. And there's a very large informal sector in India which is struggling mightily as we speak, even though I think one must take into cognizance that the formal sector of the economy seems to have shed off a lot of weight and is looking vibrant. But that is not all of India. There's a large part of India where day-to-day increases in oil price and gas price and food price has a disproportionate impact on people's well-being, which will arguably become even more challenging in the coming years, even if some of the debt metrics and growth metrics please the markets and Indian equity markets do well. There is a broader India to talk about, and therein lies the challenge. How do you take care of everybody, not just the part that is beta to the stock market?